Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is the third part of the first exercise of the chapter Continuity and Differentiability for class 12. And now we're going to complete this exercise finally by doing the rest of the questions. So in the last video, we did up until question number 29 and now we're going to do question number 30. So in the last video, I think we were doing the questions for solving the values of k, right? And we were given that the function is already continuous. So what I told you is that when a function is already continuous, what is the condition that we need to do? We need to use, we are given a hint that it is continuous. So whenever a function is continuous, what do we know? We know that LHL is equal to RHL is equal to f of c. Then we will use either LHL or RHL and equate it with f of c, or we can equate it with either way. So you can equate it either way depending upon your condition. Here we don't have a k, here we have a and b, and we have to find the values of a and b. So similarly, what we're going to do is we are going to find out the value of a and b, right? So how are we going to do this? What is our point of continuity? So you see here, it is the function is 5 when x is lesser than or equal to 2. The function is ax plus b if x value of x is between 2 and 10, and it is 21 when x is greater than 10. So what are 2 points of continuity that we will test it at x equals to 2 and at x equals to 10, right? So let's hop on to the question and start finding out the value at x is equal to 2. So at x equals to 2, the function is continuous, right? So we can say that left hand limit is equal to right hand limit is equal to f of 2. Let me just write it. At x is equal to 2, if the function is continuous, we can say that LHL is equal to RHL is equal to f of 2. Alright. So now what are we going to do again? If LHL, if it is LHL, we can say that limit x tends to 2 minus f of x is equal to limit x tends to 2 positive f of x equals to f of c. So now let's find out LHL at x tends to 2. Limit x tends to 2 minus f of x. By now we know the drill, right? So this becomes limit h tends to 0 f of 2 minus f of c, 2 minus h, right? Now, for values lesser than 2, what is the value of f of x given as? It is given as 5. So directly we write it as 5. RHL at x tends to 2, limit x tends to 2 positive f of x is equal to limit h tends to 0 f of 2 plus h. For values greater than 2, for values greater than 2, which function are you going to take? Ax plus b. This is for values of x greater than 10, right? So ax plus b. That means wherever there is x, I need to substitute 2 plus h. Limit h tends to 0, a into 2 plus h plus b, right? Now I'm not going to open the bracket. I'm just going to directly substitute the value of h as 0. And what will I get? 2a plus b. Correct? Now, since the function is continuous, we can say that LHL is equal to RHL. So I can equate LHL and RHL. Let's say this is equation number 1 and this is equation number 2. So I can say 2a plus b is equal to 5. Let this be our equation number 3. Okay, so we got one equation over here. Okay, now the same thing we are going to do for x equals to 10. So at x equals to 10, LHL is equal to RHL is equal to f of 10. Limit x tends to 10 minus f of x should be equal to limit x tends to 10 positive f of x should be equal to f of 10. Right? So LHL at x 10, and over here also RHL is equal to x tends to 10. Right? Now this means that on the left hand side, limit x tends to 10 minus f of c should be equal to h tends to 0, 10 minus h. Now for values lesser than 10, which function are we going to choose? Ax plus b. So I will get here limit h tends to 0, a into 10 minus h plus b. Again substitute the value of h as 0 and you get 10a plus b. That is your equation number 4. Here x tends to 10 positive, f of 10 plus h. I'm just rewriting the values, you know the drill. For values greater than 10, what is the value of the function given as? Directly given as 21. So this is your equation number 5. Again, LHL is equal to RHL because the function is continuous. So you can say that 10a plus b is equal to 21. So this is your equation number 6. Now look at your equation number 5 and equation number 6. What was your equation number 5? Your equation number 5 was 2a plus b is equal to 5, right? Your equation number 5 was 2a plus b is equal to 5. Remember? So now we are going to solve equation number 5 and 6. Alright, so you know different ways to solve an equation. You can do any of the methods, you can do elimination method. So, or another easy way is that from this equation 2a plus b is equal to 5, you can say that b is equal to 5 minus 2a. So substituting b in equation number 6, you will get 10a plus 5 minus 2a is equal to 21. And then when you solve this, you're gonna get 10a minus 2a is 8a plus 5 is equal to 21, right? 8a is equal to 16 and a is equal to 2. That's the value of a. Now you want to find the value of b. So how are you going to do that? It's getting a little bit clumsy, but just hold on to it because let's just finish this without changing the screen again so that it's less confusing. So substituting a equals to 2 in equation number 5, you get 2 into 2 plus b equals to 5. 4 plus b equals to 5. b is equal to 5 minus 4. b is equal to 1. So the values of a and b are right with you. A is 2 and b is 1. Right? Value of a is 2 and value of b is 1. Alright. So that's how you find the value of a and b. I'll just brief over the question one more time so that it gets really easy for everybody to understand. First of all, understand the function. The value of the function is 5 if the value of x is lesser than 2 or equal to 2. Value of the function is ax plus b for values of x which is between 2 and 10. Value of the function is 21 if the value of x is greater than or equal to 10. So what are your 2 points that you need to evaluate this at? At x equals to 2 and at x equals to 10. So first what did we do? We understood the value. Okay, before that, if the function is continuous, what is the condition that you need to entertain? You know that LHL is equal to RHL is equal to f of c. What is your c going to be in the first case? It's going to be 2. In the second case, it's going to be 10. So in the first case, x equals to 2, LHL is equal to RHL is equal to f of 2. For 2 minus and 2 plus, evaluate. For 2 minus, one number is given over here, and for 2 plus, this is given. In the case of 10, it's the other way around. For 10 minus, ax plus b, and for 10 plus, 21. So you're going to have two sets of equations, and then you have to solve them by elimination method. So when you do x equals to 2, in the LHL you're going to have one number, and in the RHL you're going to have another condition. Equate both of them first. When you do x equals to 10, you're going to have, for 10 minus you're going to have one value, and for 10 plus you're going to have another value. Equate both of them second. Finally, you will have two equations and equate both of them by elimination method and solve the answer. This question is very, 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 very important, and it comes in the exam most of the times. So just remember that this is a very, very important question. Okay. All right, so let's move to the next question. Okay, so now 31st question. Show that the function defined by f of x is equal to cos of x squared is a continuous function. Notice how I'm reading this function. F of x is equal to cos of x square, not cos x square, right? What does this mean? This means that every time a function is given to you in this format, it means that it is a composite function. Now let me give you a little bit of an introduction to composite functions. If you don't remember the concept and if you feel like you need a little bit brushing up, I will introduce you to it right now. It's very similar to how we are doing the limits. Limits are all the property of composite function is also applied in limit, where you substitute uh, when you do f of h plus 1, or 1 minus h, or 1 plus h, and you substitute that value of h in the place of x, it's something similar to that. But don't get confused, I'll clear it for you now. So let's understand. Let's say that we have, I'm just explaining composite functions a little bit to you over here, so that it's easier for you to understand these type of questions, right? So let's say I have a function f of x is equal to 2x plus 1. Okay, and I have g of x is equal to 3x. Okay, I have two functions, f of x and g of x, correct? Now let's say I want to do f of g form. If I want to do f of g, what does f of g means? It means that I will substitute g of x in f of x. Okay, g of x in f of x. So let's see, f of g means I'm going to do f of g of x. So what will I do? In my f of x, I'm going to substitute g of x in the place of x. So I will write 2 into, in the place of x, what am I going to write? 3x. 3x plus 1, that is equal to 6x plus 1. This is my f of g. Okay. Now similarly, if I want to do g of f, g of f means f of x in g of x, correct? F of x in g of x, right? So what is my g of x over here now? It is 3x. G of f of x. So I will write 3 into, in the place of x, I'm going to substitute f of x. 2x plus 1. That is 6x plus 1 again. Sorry, 6x plus 3. Right? So this is your f of g and g of f concept of composite function. So whatever is of, you will substitute it in the first function. If I say f of g, you will substitute g in f. If I say g of f, you will substitute f in function g. I know it sounds a little bit confusing when I play with the words like that, but it's okay. When you solve, you're gonna totally understand it. Okay. So let's see how we're going to solve this question. So here you can directly see that what is given to you, f of x is equal to cos of x square. So when I look at this itself, I know that x square is another function. So I'm going to put it as g of x. All right. So how are we going to solve this now? What will I do by taking this as another function? Let's see. All right. So now what is my function? F of x is equal to cos x the whole square. So here you can see that I told you that x square will be another function, and the function enclosing that x square is going to be another function, right? So first we're going to address the function that is inside the bracket. Let's say x square. So I'm going to name this x square as function h of x. Now what is enclosing this x square? Cos, right? So I'm going to say g of x is equal to cos x. So now what is g of h x? I can say that g of h is, I can write it as g of h of x. Correct? What is g of h of x? G of, what is h of x? X square. What is g of x square? Cos of x square. Right? Now g of x square is equal to cos of x square. Now this is also equal to what? F of x. Right? Therefore, we can write that f of x is equal to g of h. Understood? Let me revise it one more time. So, what did we do? We took this as one function and the inside part as another function. So, we wrote x square as h of x and g of x as cos x. Now, if you look at the function, it is in the format of goh, right? G of h. So, I wrote it as g of hx can be written as g of h of x. Now, instead of h of x, I have written the value of h of x as x square. Now, what is g of x square in the function g? When I put x square instead of x, what happens? It becomes cos of x square, right? What am I doing here? Whenever I write g of x square, that means in my function g of x, every place that I have x, I need to put x square. So, what is my function g of x? It is cos x. That means if I'm doing g of x square now, instead of x, I'm going to put cos of x square, right? This is what we do in limit also. Every place where you have x, you will put the function that you need to substitute. All right. So when you do this, you get cos of x square, which is also equal to our f of x. So we came to the conclusion that f of x is equal to g of h. Right? Now, what's the next step? We know that cos x is a continuous function, right? If cos x is continuous, we can say that g of x is continuous, right? And you look at h of x separately, x square is also continuous, correct? Which implies that h of x is also continuous. If these both are continuous, we can say that g of h is continuous. And then we prove that g of h is equal to f of x, which implies that f of x is continuous. Did you understand my point? So what did we do here? F of x is equal to cos of x square. We took both the separate functions, one as h of x and one as g of x. Then we found out g of h of x. We manipulated it and we proved that it is equal to f of x, right? Then we considered these functions separately. We first looked at g of x. We saw that cos x is a continuous function, so this is continuous. Then x square is a continuous function, so this is also continuous. That means both are continuous. So if I do g of h of x, it's also going to be continuous. But g of h of x is equal to f of x. Therefore, f of x is continuous. Easy. The concept is a little bit tricky to understand, but the writing and the solving of the question is extremely simple. Once you get hang of the concept, you will solve the question in no time. Okay. So have a look at this, have this understanding. If you want, you can look up some extra material on composite function and then you will be able to understand it better. If you want me to make a separate video to explain composite functions and operations on composite functions and algebra of continuous functions, composite functions, then please write it to me in the comments and I will do a separate video on it explaining everything in detail. Next question, question number 32. Show that the function defined by modulus of cos x is a continuous function. Again, it is a it is the same type of question that we saw the last time. Step number one, take two different functions g of h, g of x, and h of x. Then take g of h of x and prove that it is equal to f of x. Then prove that g of x is continuous. Then prove that h of x is continuous. If both are continuous, g of h of x is also going to be continuous, and hence we can say that f of x is continuous. So let's quickly write it down and solve the question. So we will say that let g of x be equal to modulus of x. Okay, and let h of x be equal to cos x. So you see your modulus is on the outside and cos x is on inside, so that's why we have taken h of x is whatever is inside the bracket or inside the modulus, take it as h of x. All right. Okay, so now what is the next step? G of h of x. This you can also write it as g of h of x. Now, h of x means in the function h of x, in every place where there is x, you will substitute it with x only. This is the meaning of this function. If instead of this x over here, there was 1 by x, or if there was x square, or if there was 2x plus 1, that would mean that what would this mean? It would mean that in my function h of x, wherever there is an x, I am going to substitute 2x plus 1. That means what would I substitute it as? Cos of 2x plus 1. Okay, I'm repeating this again and again so that the concept is super clear to you. What if I had my what if I had to do g of h of 2x square? Okay, so h of 2x square means what? I will first take my function h of x. What is my function h of x? It is cos x. Now, in my function h of x, wherever there is an x, I need to substitute this value. So I my g of h of 2x square will be equal to g of cos of 2x square. Is that clear? So it's a simple concept. Get the hang of the concept and things will be easier for you for sure. All right. I'm going to quickly erase this so that things are a little bit neater. Okay. So g of h of x. I'll repeat it one more time. That means in my function h of x, wherever there is a value of x, I need to just substitute it by h by x. So don't get confused. Don't think that I'm simply writing the value of h of x as it is. If there was something inside this bracket, I would have substituted that. So cos x. Now g of cos x means in my function g of x, wherever there is x, I need to substitute cos x, right? So that will make it modulus of cos x. Now what is modulus of cos x? Which is also equal to f of x. Therefore we can say that g of x, h of x is equal to f of x. Now we know that modulus of x is continuous always, right? Therefore, g of x is continuous, correct? Next, cos x is a continuous function. Therefore, h of x is also continuous. Therefore, we can say that g of h of x is continuous. If I make this equation number 1, so I can say that from equation number 1, we can say that f of x is continuous. That's about it. Okay, question number 33, sign of modulus of x. This question is also of the same type, so we'll just quickly do the drill and finish it off. See, I know that a lot of channels teach you a lot of different ways to do things, and some channels will also claim that whatever they're teaching is the easiest way to do it. I know that there are many easier methods to solve questions, but I want to teach you the most authentic way to do it and the most um, authentic way, yet I want to make it really easy for you to understand, because what's important is that your concepts be really clear, because if you go for an easy way out, you might not understand the concept fully and your brain might not be open to different kind of logics that you might be able to use in different kind of questions. So if you're going to go for a more serious line of education in future, like let's say for engineering or for your entrance exams, it's very important to have a very open mind to understand what kind of a logic I need to apply when, and how much your basics are clear is going to play a very important role in your further examination. So please, I really emphasize to really work on your concepts. Let it be as small as knowing how integers work, or how you're taking your squares and square roots, to finding your derivatives and learning your trigonometric formulas. Every concept is important. Once you get the hang of the concept, all problems become really, really, really simple. All right. Okay, let's move to this question quickly. So sine of modulus of x is a continuous function. So obviously we know that g of x is going to be sine x and h of x is going to be modulus of x, right? So let's shoot. G of x is equal to sine x and h of x is equal to modulus of x. So g of h of x can also be written as g of h of x. What is h of x? In the place of x, I need to substitute x only. So I'm gonna write it like this. What is my g of modulus x? In my function g of x, wherever there is x, I need to substitute modulus of x. So that becomes sine of mod of x. You know what some students do? They just mug up this method and go and write it. Although they get the marks, but then it all boils down to knowing your concepts right. Right? Mugging doesn't work all the time. If you're short on time, you can definitely mug this up and write it. It's very simple, but I would suggest you to not do it. This is also equal to f of x. Therefore, we can say that f of x is equal to g of h of x. So, since sin x is continuous, we can say that g of x is continuous, right? Since modulus of x is continuous, it implies that h of x is also continuous, right? So, we can say that g of h of x is continuous. If this is equation number 1, we can say that from 1, we can say that f of x is continuous. Alright, super. Let's move to the next and very, 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 very important question of this chapter. Most of the times it comes in the exam, a little bit twisted, a little bit not twisted for more marks. So next question is super, super important from this whole exercise, from this whole chapter. In fact, from the first exercise, if there is any question that I can guarantee might come for more marks, it's the next one. Pay attention to it and let's solve it. Okay, so now find all the points of discontinuity of f defined by modulus of x minus modulus of x plus 1. Now, every time in the previous questions we had a modulus, we opened it down and split it into two conditions, two or three conditions after opening up the modulus, correct? So now let's do it the same way. We have to first open up the modulus and write the conditions of what happens when x is negative and what happens when x is positive. What do I mean by negative and positive? What happens when x is lesser than 0 and what happens when x is greater than 0, right? So let's try to first break down our conditions, correct? Now, modulus of x. You have to note this down with me because I'm going to be changing the screen after some time. Modulus of x will break down into two conditions always, right? One is when x is positive. When x is positive, what is the condition for x? When will x be positive? When x is greater than or equal to 0. And when will x be negative? It will be negative when x is lesser than 0. So this is for modulus of x. In our question, we have modulus of x and we have modulus of x plus 1. Similarly, so what will happen for modulus of x plus 1? It will break down into two conditions. One is positive x plus 1 and one is negative x plus 1. Correct? So this will be, if I follow the same pattern, when x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0 and when x plus 1 is lesser than 0. So now if I have to solve this inequality and I take 1 on the other side, what will I get? I will get x plus 1 is equal to x plus 1 when x is greater than or equal to minus 1 and minus x plus 1 when x is lesser than minus 1, when x is lesser than minus 1, right? So this and this are the two conditions that we are going to follow for solving this question. So make a note of this and keep this in mind. Alright, so I've put it in a box over here so that it's easy for us to refer very quickly. Now, what are our intervals going to be? Our first case is going to be when x is lesser than or equal to minus 1. Correct? Second case is going to be when minus 1 less than x less than 0. When x is between minus 1 and 0. And third case is going to be when x is greater than or equal to 0. So basically we are checking at point 0 and minus 1. Okay. Okay. Now if I have to evaluate what happens when x is lesser than or equal to minus 1. I just wrote down the function like this. Let's see what happens to x when it is lesser than minus 1. When x is lesser than minus 1, when it means that it is lesser than 0, it means it's negative. So when x is lesser than minus 1, it is going to be negative. We put the minus sign over here as per the function. What happens to x plus 1 when it is lesser than minus 1? When x plus 1 is lesser than minus 1, also it is negative. So write it down like this. So open the bracket, minus x, and this minus and minus sign goes away. It becomes plus x plus 1. So you get f of x is equal to 1. So for this case, you have f of x is equal to 1. So I can say that I'm going to start formulating the function on this side. F of x is equal to 1 when x is lesser than or equal to minus 1. Right? Similarly, we are going to do the rest of the condition. So let's check for the second condition. Okay. So in the second condition, the values of x have to be between minus 1 and 0. So what happens to x when it is between minus 1 and 0? Between minus 1 and 0 means that x is still negative, right? It is lesser than 0, right? So according to this condition, we will say that x is negative. What happens to x plus 1 but? When x plus 1 is between 0 and minus 1, that means that x plus 1 is greater than minus 1, right? X plus 1 is between 0 and minus 1. That means it is greater than minus 1, not lesser than minus 1. So for greater than minus 1, x plus 1 is positive. So we are going to write it as positive. Open the bracket and you get minus 2x plus 1. Right? So now in my function that I am formulating, what am I going to write? I am going to write that f of x is equal to minus 2x plus 1 when the value of x is between minus 1 and 0. Is that correct? I hope you all are understanding. Next is the third case when x is greater than or equal to 0. Now, when x is greater than 0, what is happening? X is positive. And when x is greater than or equal to 0, what is the value of x plus 1? Greater than 0 means greater than, definitely greater than minus 1. That means again x plus 1 is positive over here. Both will be positive. So minus x plus 1. When you open the bracket, this sign also, minus 1 sign also changes. You get x minus x and x gets cancelled, and here you get minus 1. So in the function, finally over here I get when x is minus 1, when x is greater than or equal to 0. So you understand why this question is important, because in the other questions, this function part to you is already given. But in this question, given by the modulus, you are first breaking down the modulus into conditions as to what happens when x is greater than 0, lesser than 0, equal to 0. And what happens to x plus 1 when it is greater than minus 1, lesser than minus 1, equal to minus 1. After doing that, you evaluate the function on all the points of continuity for all the conditions, and you formulate the function. So you're formulating the function yourself. That is why it is very, very important. Now you have obtained the function. So now you have to find the points of discontinuity. So now we need to check the point of continuity, right? So hope this part is clear to all of you. Make a note of it, pause the video, write it all down, and we will move to the next part of this question. Okay. Okay, so I wrote down the function neatly over here. Now we will see what are the cases that we need to evaluate. Look at the first line. F of x is equal to 1 when x is lesser than minus 1 and equal to minus 1. So first case is x is lesser than minus 1, x is equal to minus 1. Second case, when values of x is between minus 1 and 0. Third case, when x is greater than 0. And fifth case when it is equal to 0. So we need to evaluate it all the conditions and check the continuity. So let's go one by one. So when x is lesser than minus 1, that's our first case. What happens when x is lesser than minus 1? The value of f of x is equal to 1, so it is continuous. Very simple. Second case, x is equal to minus 1. When x is equal to minus 1, in the equal to cases we always have to check LHL and RHL. So let's do LHL RHL really quickly. So we have LHL at x tends to minus 1 and we have RHL at x tends to minus 1. So now limit x tends to minus 1, f of x is equal to limit h tends to 0, f of h tends to 0, f of minus 1 minus h. So when x is lesser than minus 1, what is the value given to us? It is given to us directly as minus 1. When x is lesser than minus 1, the value is directly given to us as 1. RHL at x equals to minus 1, limit x tends to minus 1, f of x, limit h tends to 0, f of minus 1 plus h. When x is greater than minus 1, when x is greater than minus 1, what function are we going to choose? We are going to choose minus 2x minus 1. Greater than minus 1 means we will choose the values that is between minus 1 and 0. So we are going to take limit h tends to 0 minus 2 into minus 1 plus h minus 1. So here you get, substitute the value of h as 0 and you get 2 minus 1, that is equal to minus 1. Since LHL is equal to RHL, and we also need to check f of c. So for f of c, we have to do f of minus 1 at equals to minus 1, which is also equal to 1. So LHL is equal to RHL is equal to f of c. Therefore, it is continuous, right? So in this one, it is continuous. In this one also, it is continuous. Now let's check for minus 1, for values of x between minus 1 and 0. Okay, now the third situation, when the values of x are between minus 1 and 0, what is the value of the function? Minus 2x minus 1. It is a polynomial, right? And polynomials are always continuous. Fourth condition is when x is greater than 0. When x is greater than 0, what is the value of f of x given to us? F of x is given to us as minus 1. Correct? So f of x equals to minus 1 means constant. Therefore, it is also continuous. So you are seeing that so far we didn't find any points of discontinuity. So now let's check at x equals to 0 and see if this proves to us as a point of discontinuity, yes or no. Alright, let's shoot. Limit x tends to 0, f0 minus f of x is equal to f of minus h. So when x is lesser than 0, what is the function that we are choosing? Minus 2x minus 1. So limit h tends to 0 minus 2 into minus h minus 1, that is equal to 2h. Limit h tends to 0 2h minus 1. Substitute the value of h as 0 and you get minus 1 here. Then RHL. So limit hx tends to 0 plus f of x is equal to limit h tends to, I forgot limit h tends to 0 here, so please add it. Limit h tends to 0, f of 0 plus h, limit h tends to 0, f of h, when x is equal to 0, when x is greater than 0, it is given to us as directly as minus 1. Now we need to check limit x tends to 0, f of x at 0 equals to f of c. So what is the value of this at 0? It is given to us as minus 1. So LHL is equal to RHL is equal to f of c. Therefore, even at this condition, it is continuous. Now look at this situation. For all the conditions, we saw that it is continuous. Therefore, we are going to say that there is no point of discontinuity for the function given by f of x is equal to modulus of x minus x plus 1. One of the students got really irritated after solving this whole big question, and he was like, ma'am, if there was no point of discontinuity since the beginning, then why did you even ask us to solve the question? Well, maths is always like that, you know. They ask you to carry 100 watermelons and imagine your father's age is twice the son's age and blah blah blah. It's really not applicable in real life sometimes, but well, you have to study, so you have to study. So we are going to say that there is no point of discontinuity. There is no point of discontinuity. Therefore, f is continuous for all x that are an element of R. That's about it. This can be a 4-mark question, 6-mark question. Sometimes they might give you the function and ask you to just solve it, and sometimes you have to make the question. So solve accordingly. Okay, that wraps up our exercise, and I hope video after video you felt the improvement in my sessions and what I'm trying to do. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up and like and share and subscribe, and give me feedback on what I can do better, and is there anything that I have missed out, anything that I have done wrong. Please let me know. Also, please go and check out my website. I'm going to be uploading really fun stuff there, and all the notes and video tutorials, and I'm also uploading some used and not used NCRT books, CBSE books, even engineering books, some pre-loved novels, pre-owned books, and everything. So if you're interested in and also this is only for UAE, so if anybody in UAE is interested in purchasing those, students can directly contact me on via DM on the Instagram, or just write on the website. Okay, and you can directly purchase off the website. At the moment, we only have cash on delivery available, but we're working on the payment methods. And please, guys, subscribe and make your friends subscribe as well. We are working really hard, and I'm trying really hard to make education available to everybody at no cost. Even the books, I'm trying to get it from everywhere so that people can use the books already used by others, which are in good condition, so that you don't have to really waste money. The point of all of this is so that you learn good quality stuff at an affordable price, and it is not challenging for anybody to get educated. All right, uh, please give me your love and support on what I'm trying to do. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye. Take care.